So essentially what we see here is that they would attempt to rebel against their captors in any way possible, whatever it might be, whether it was killing themselves, jumping over the side of the boat, whether it was attacking someone, whatever it might have been, they just weren't going into slavery. These people were not willing to be captivated or yield to the authority of any person or any nation outside of themselves.
For example, the enslaved people aboard the Clare mutinied and successfully drove the crew from the vessel, landing and liberating themselves near Cape Coast Castle on the Gold Coast in 1729.
So essentially, what they were doing is they would try to liberate themselves from their captors aboard the slave ships before it got too far from the coast of Africa. So that way they could take the ship, return, and then they would go and do the same thing again for other people. This was one of the most famous ones recorded in the Gold Coast or near Ghana, right? Cape Coast Castle. How many of you have seen it? It was one of the biggest trade ports in all of West Africa, right? So this essentially resembles exactly what we see and what Jacob said in Genesis 49, where they in the morning they would divide the prey and they would devour the prey, and at noonday they would divide the spoil, right? Let's look at Jamaica. Same website, slaveryandremembrance.org.
Under early English control, Jamaica became a haven for pirates who harassed Spanish shipping, as was the case elsewhere in the Caribbean.
So we see that they became a haven for pirates. What did we mention earlier? The first thing that these people would do that they would be known for is pirating the oceans. We see it on the east coast of Africa. We see it on the west coast of Africa where the Benjamites are present. Well, I don't know what it is about these people in ships, but they're as notorious on a boat as they are on land. So they were harassing Spanish shipping, Reed.
Jamaican planters began to cultivate sugar in the latter half of the 17th century.
Now, just to let you know how gifted these people are on the oceans, the United Nations have come together to try to attempt to stop pirating in Africa for their trade ports. And after 2 to 3 decades of doing so, they still haven't been able to put a stop to it. And that's the United Nations, people.